This week on the Clip Service Pod, we're going to talk a little bit about some good habits that are beginning to build, a couple wins, maybe some momentum. We'll see. Fingers crossed. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a couple games on the horizon for the Clippers and what to look for and what we hope to see. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and even YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter at Clip Service Pod. I'm Rolla, and this is my co-host, Nick. There were some good games this week. Let's get right into it.
Yes, sir. That's all I got to say. Thanks for chiming in, guys.
It's been real, guys.
No, yeah, there were some good things to talk about. The Clippers took back-to-back wins for the first time in what seemed like a billion years. We did lose to the Nuggets, but to be perfectly honest with you, aside from some poor officiating and some collapses down the stretch, some bad turnovers and whatnot, I thought it was a pretty good game. And it's Jokic and it's the Nuggets and they're always going to play you hard. It was going to be a tough game to win regardless, but I kind of liked the way that we played, and I think something was born out of that game. I think that we saw a couple of things that we needed to build on, and from what I could see in the two games following that, we did. So let's talk about the Nuggets game a little bit, what we liked, what we didn't. Roll, you want to start us off?
Yes, sir. So you mentioned poor officiating, man, and I'm kind of tired of that excuse. I feel like that's an excuse that we've been having since the beginning of time, bro. That's like the Clippers.
I will say this was the first game this season that I can confidently say that I thought that it wasn't a little bit of an issue.
No, I think we just lost.
But it was, you know what?
I think, like, straight up. Let's not blame it on the refs.
It was wonky both ways. It was wonky both ways.
I don't even. No, dude, I don't even care. I think we just straight up lost this game. We were leading in the fourth quarter, weren't we? I think we just straight up lost this game. I don't think it was the refs. I don't think it was this, that, or the third. I think at the end of the day, our stars didn't make the shots, and their stars did. But I guess to start off on the good note, Paul George with 35 points. That's exactly what we need to see. He started getting hot in like the third quarter. So overall, I think he played a good game. I'm still looking for a big game from Kawhi. 15 points isn't going to cut it. You can't have your number one star score 15 points and expect to win. That just is what it is. James Harden had a good game. He seemed to kind of start to get into his groove. I'm not sure. Was this the game that James Harden was talking to Bones and he's like, I need to get back to my basics, and you know what I mean? Do you remember that? You remember seeing that clip around?
I think that might have been a couple games before that. I don't really know the series of events that have happened over the course of the last couple of weeks have been all a blur because I've been in a slump. That 6-game losing streak, I was fighting for my life, but I was trying to stay positive. But yeah, I don't remember which game that was exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was before the Nuggets game, but when he was mic'd up and he was talking to Bones on the bench.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, overall, I think we didn't play poorly. I think just defensively in the fourth quarter, we just collapsed. They ran the same play like 4 times in a row and just that's literally how they won the game. They just torched us with the same play over and over and over and over again. And it's just seemed like Ty Lue didn't want to make the change. But,
that was, I think, a lot of the gripe from what I was hearing from a lot of like Clipper Twitter and just basketball Twitter in general was, and I think there's two sides to the story, but basically the talking points were that Ty Lue pulled Zoo. I think either early in the fourth or late in the third, even went with PJ Tucker at the five down the stretch. Went small, and Tucker's physicality was definitely working for a little bit, and I think that was probably the best game that PJ Tucker had for the Clippers and maybe ever will have. To be perfectly honest with you, he hit a couple corner threes, which is it's been his park plays for so long, and he was hitting shots that he's really used to hitting, and he
We were
played
talking
some
shit
physical
on him
defense.
last podcast. You want to mention
I
that?
was. Well, I mean, I'll get there. I'll get there. But he had a good game. He had a good game for a 50-year-old player, um, and he did what he was supposed to do. But again, the talking point on Twitter was that Zoo. This was, I think, Zoo's kind of first good game, uh, at least on one side of the ball all season. He had 13 rebounds, which is something that we really love to see. His shot making was off. He was short on a couple shots, on a couple like jump hooks,
Mm.
um, which is. He shouldn't be. Those are shots that he should make. But at the end of the day, his defense, Zoo. One thing that I really like about Zoo, and I've said it before, is when he's engaged, he's a really underrated defender at the rim. He does a great job of staying vertical. He doesn't foul a ton.
Shit.
He really does play some disciplined defense at the rim. And you kind of saw that this game. You really saw for the first time all season, Zoo was looking engaged on that side of the ball, and he was doing a good job against Jokic. And I think that personally, I think Ty ran the small ball a little bit too long. I understand why he did it because we were spacing the floor and we really were pulling Jokic out of the paint, which was kind of what you want to do. He's not a fantastic defender, but he is a rim deterrent. So you want to try and pull him out of the paint as much as you can, and it was working. But I will say the last couple of minutes of the game, I would have liked to see Zoo out there just to have a bigger body. We did get we got to let the Nuggets take a couple of like big offensive rebounds, and we did have trouble on the glass a little bit there down the stretch. But I mean, I think that, like I said, there's two sides to that story. The floor spacing, particularly with how PJ Tucker was hitting the ball or hitting the three ball that game, was definitely helping. It allowed for PG and Harden and Kawhi to get into the paint and make their mid range shots and get to the hoop and stuff. But yeah, I think that was tough, and that was part of the reason why we lost. And you saw it too on a couple plays in the last couple minutes of the game, which is something we did, something that no team should really ever do, and we doubled Jokic. We did two smalls on Jokic, tried to double. I think Norm came to help one of the plays and tried to get a strip. And Jokic is such an amazing passer that if he notices for a split second that he's got a double on him, he's going to find the open guy. So
Yeah.
I think it ended up being a Aaron Gordon dunk off of like a baseline cut or something like that, and
Yeah.
that's how they're going to beat you. But
But I think
aside from little things like that, go
the
ahead.
thing was also, I think PJ Tucker played well on Jokic. I just think that at the end of the game, once they figured out, I guess, our weakness or what we were doing, and they figured out how to beat us, they just kept running that same play. And I think you said that. I think that's when we should have put in Zoo. Um, but other than that, I feel like PJ Tucker did a great job. I think we did a great job defensively. I just think at the end of the game, it was double team Jokic, and then once once we switched it up, um, we tried to like defend Jokic a little bit more heavy, and then
Yeah,
Reggie Jackson just hit that late. I don't know if you remember, but Reggie Jackson noticed that we were all over Jokic because they ran it like 4 or 5 times, and then Reggie was like, "Okay, that's fifth time. I'm just gonna take it to the hole myself," and he had an open layup. Um, I think the Clippers in general, I think we just really, really, really struggle in the fourth quarter, just with plays, with moving the rock, offense and defense. And I think that's something that the Nuggets exploited. I don't think the Nuggets played a good game. I don't think they were played an amazing game as a team. I think they got lucky with a couple shots. I think they got lucky with the Aaron Gordon shot, half court shot at the end of the third quarter. But overall, I
Nikola
think it was,
Jokic had 14 free throws. By the way, just want to point that out.
dude. Paul George gets 14 free throws every other game. Like, let's
I
be
know it's a
real.
lot of free throws. It's a lot of free throws. I mean,
Um,
he had a good game, but I think he was. Yeah, never mind. I'm not going to get into it.
It's just
The
I
officials are
just don't want
great.
to hear the ref excuse, dude. We've been saying since the Blake Griffin days, bro. That's been the Clippers things. Let's just like try to win. This was a winnable game, you know.
Th-
Um,
This is the first time that I brought it up all season long. Let me have my victory lap, please.
bro, we're 8 games into the season. What you mean? This is the first. This is the first of like 70 games, bro.
It didn't help. It didn't help. That's all I'm saying.
It
Didn't
didn't
help.
help, but I
Anyway,
mean,
continue. I'm
if
sorry.
we had won, I don't think we would have been saying, "Oh, the refs didn't help us. The refs didn't do. The refs were trash." We'd be celebrating a win, you know. And I think this was our game, and we lost it rather than the Nuggets winning. And like I was telling you, man, Jokic played a good game, but I mean, you can't tell me he played a better game than Paul George. I don't think he's better.
Uh,
But let's not open that can of
we're
worms
not
again.
gonna get it. We're not gonna get into that shit again. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this one up because I'm gonna nip it in the bud right here. Yeah, I think the Clippers did take the loss. The Clippers did take the loss, but I think that truly, like, after I got over, after I hopped off my soapbox and got over the official, that my gripe with the officials and stuff, I really did think that we played a good game, and I think that we gave ourselves a shot to win that game, as opposed to most, if not all, of the other losses that we took this season. We really put ourselves out of it. I think we gave ourselves a chance to um, to get the win, and obviously we didn't do that. But I thought that was something that we built upon in the following two games, which I think that we actually should bring up, because it's enough talking about losses, because we got 2 wins, guys. We finally did it. We finally strung together some good play, and we were able to squeak out a win against actually what is a very good the Rockets team so far this year. Um, Ime has those guys playing hard. Van Vliet, he's looking like a leader out there. Jalen Green is really showing that he's a 3-level scorer, and they have some good pieces. I'm a big Tari Eason guy. He gave us some trouble throughout the game. But yeah, Roll, you want to talk a little bit about that before I go on my victory lap about how much I loved watching this
Yeah.
game,
Wait,
aside
what?
from the fact that we were at a cabin. Excuse me, what? What are you trying to say? Oh, technical difficulties here.
No, no.
Rolla, are you with us?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
okay.
Um.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were
So.
backstory. We were no, you know what? I'm over it, bro. You just go ahead and you talk now.
Yeah. So I didn't get a chance
The
to
floor is
watch
yours.
this. I didn't get a chance to watch this game in totality. I just watched the
I was
end.
gonna say, what are you talking about? We were in the same room.
No, I didn't. I wasn't. I didn't watch the first 3 quarters. I thought we already had this discussion. No, I only watched the
Backstory
fourth
for those
quarter.
of you listening at home: we were all at a cabin this weekend, and we were out in Big Bear having the time of our lives. Rolla was outside enjoying the fresh mountain air. Missed most of the game because he's not a true Clipper fan. Yada yada yada.
Whoa, bro! A true Clipper fan would have told me that the game was on. You know what I'm saying? Anyways,
Okay, you got me there.
anyways, uh, all I know is that this was a good team win. Just looking at the statistics, looking at the box score, everyone was. I mean, all of our starting lineup was a plus minus. I think the lowest was Paul George with a +9, which is very impressive. Paul George 23 points, 3 assists, 8 boards. Kawhi 26 points, 2 assists, 8 boards, and James Harden with a show to behold. 24 points, 7 assists, 9 boards, and a freaking 4 point play, a
And the
steal with
game-winning shot,
gloves.
baby.
And
Yes, sir.
that shot gave me some PTSD flashbacks because it looked eerily similar to what year was that, 2019, the shot against Paul
When
George and
he,
Patrick Beverly.
yeah, and Pat Bev, yeah.
Pat Bev, what do they call it? The Pat Bev like picnic knees, or
Yeah. Everybody was memeing Pat Bev like getting crossed up, and there's the classic Pat Bev playing Twister,
yeah.
Pat Bev praying. all this stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was eerily similar to that shot, and that's what
Very
James
much.
Harden does.
He does,
I
and
think that
that's something that's going to help us a lot. Because like I think last game I was talking about how I don't think that in the fourth quarter, and I don't think like in the final couple minutes, the clutch time, we are a good team. I think that Kawhi misses a lot of shots. I think Paul George doesn't get plays drawn up for him the way it should be. So it's just nice to have a player like James Harden who can say, you know what, give me the ball. I'm gonna hit this three, step back, and get an and one, and that's gonna be the game. Like I mean, let's not play any games. Let's not do this, that, and the third, and let's just win the game. Um, so I think James Harden, with having James Harden on our team, is I think is going to be so impactful at the end of games because I mean he's still getting into his groove. He's still feeling out the team. But once he's in shape, once he's got his conditioning in, once he becomes James Harden, I'm really thinking that he's going to be that guy for us at the end of games. But
I
overall, I gotta say it
agree.
was a big game from the team.
Yeah, it was awesome, and like kind of like you were saying, having a guy that can hit big shots down the stretch, particularly off the dribble. I know that James Harden even came out and said it that he's still trying to get comfortable with the catch and shoot, which once he gets that down, I think that would be huge. But being able to take guys off the dribble in clutch time, I mean, you were touching on, you've kind of been touching on it this whole season, and you just touched on it just a minute ago that Kawhi Leonard does have a tendency to fall flat when the game's on the line. That's not an indictment on him. It just seems to be the way that it goes sometimes, particularly because he takes such difficult shots. But you saw it. He had the ball. It looked like he was going to try and take the game-winning shot. I was uh, I was pretty scared, and he drew the defender tight enough to where he kicked it out to James. James takes one
Uh,
hard dribble, steps back, gets the 4 point play. Just having somebody that we can kick to make a big shot is huge. And conversely, if the ball was in James Harden's hands and he passed it, you have someone that you can trust to make the pass to. So, and I love Russell Westbrook a lot more than Rolla does. But I think having a guy that we can sub in for Russ down the stretch, when we need to. I know sometimes Russ has a tendency to turn the ball over in late game situations too. And I think that that'll change throughout the season. I think that some situations will call for, we need a bucket in the paint. Let's drop a play for Russ to get to the rim. So I think, but just having the versatility to put different types of talent out there, and one of which being James Harden's shot making, it showed in a close game with the Rockets. Statistically, throughout this game, I think it was pretty even. It was a game of runs for sure.
yeah.
You know, the turnovers were about the same. The Rockets had three more than we did. Points off turnovers, they led by a little bit, but similarly to fast break points. But the rebounds were dead even. Both offensive and defensive rebounds were pretty close. And the free throw percentage dead even. 3 point percentage pretty close. So I think that it was a pretty even game, all the way through, and it boiled down to who can make the winning shot, and we ended up doing it. So um,
Yep.
I really liked what I saw. Just the balance of offense, the defensive intensity looked really good. That hasn't really been as big of a question mark for me this season. Our defense has looked pretty crisp overall,
Outside of
aside
that
from a
Nuggets
couple,
game.
yeah, a couple of miscues. But the offense is what was struggling, and this was the first game where I was thinking, okay, we're flowing a little bit. The ball's moving around. I lost the stats for this game. I didn't see how many assists we had, but I know that the ball was moving around, and I know that we were sharing the ball. Daniel Theis's
We had
first game,
24.
which we were up in the mountains. I didn't get a ton of service on the way up, so I didn't even know that Daniel Theis was going to be cleared for this game.
Yeah.
But when I was watching the game, I saw him out on the floor, and I think I haven't talked about it yet, but I think getting Daniel Theis is really big, particularly on a buyout. I wasn't when I heard that the Clippers were going to trade for Daniel Theis. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, just pretty much just because of his size. He's a smaller center, but getting him on the buyout market, I think, is a big win, particularly without Plumlee. Uh, and this wasn't a great game for him. I think he only had 2 points, but the game after, which we'll talk about in a moment, he really. really stepped up and
Mhm.
gave us what we needed in the absence of having a backup center right now. So I thought overall pretty good game. I just want to shout out Alperen Şengün, man. That guy is one of my favorite young players in the league right now. A lot of people call him Baby Jokic. He's just, he's so skilled. And for the last couple of years, he wasn't getting enough playing time. Um, I was begging Steven Silas to go with him over Christian Wood plenty of times. And it's been really cool to see him step into his own. And the Rockets are giving him the keys to the front court. He had a great game. He had a couple of really big plays. Um, but I mean, I like what I saw from the Rockets. I'm excited to see them throughout the rest of the season. They're a lot more competitive than I thought they would be. Like I
Mhm.
said, Ime has those guys playing hard, and they brought in the right amount of vets. Jeff Green, Fred VanVleet. Dylan Brooks is having, making his impact whether you like him or not. He's giving them a bit of an edge that they didn't have before. So I think the game was overall a really good test against a team that had won I think six straight before they came in to play us, including
Yeah.
a win against the Nuggets. So I liked that they gave us their best shot and we escaped with a win.
Yeah, it was a close one.
But I think the game afterwards against the other team in Texas, San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama. I thought that was about as perfect of a game as we built upon that momentum, and I always say winning cures a lot of these slumps that teams go through. We needed a win in the worst way possible. We got one in Houston and
Yep.
or against Houston, and it really the momentum showed in the game against the Spurs. I thought the ball was moving or continued moving, and look, all of our starters chipped in a big way. Rolla, did you want to
Mhm.
touch on that game a little bit?
Yeah, man. I gotta say, first things first, Daniel Theis, man, he came in and really showed that he deserves to be in a Clipper uniform. He really balled
Oh,
his
for
ass
sure.
off, and
He
it's
did ball that
almost
little
like,
ass off of his.
yeah, I mean, it's almost like kind of refreshing to have a center that I don't want to like talk shit on our big men.
It's refreshing to have a center that's not Ivica Zubac, is what you're trying to say.
That's not like, I don't know, that wants it. You know what I mean? Obviously,
No,
this is one good
yeah,
game. So we'll see with the coming weeks, but it was nice to see. I think he was a big part on why we won this game.
oh,
Paul
he
George with 28
certainly was.
points,
19
six
points, right?
assists, 5 boards. Yeah, 19 points for Daniel Tice. Kawhi Leonard, 21 points, 3 assists, 4 boards. And you know what I gotta say, man? I'm still waiting for Kawhi to have a big game. Wow, we
You don't like
are
21 points plus 17?
no, we are
It's not good
12
enough for
games
you?
in. No, we are 12 games in to the season, and we haven't had. I don't think he's had a single game where he scored 30 plus. He's a scorer. When you talk about Kawhi, you talk about a two-way player, aka someone who's able to drop buckets and play defense. And I don't think he has really scored like that heavily. I'm looking for a game where he demands the ball and he unloads onto onto all of their faces. he does
Yes, yes. We want
he
Kawhi to
doesn't
unload onto
and
faces
he
here
hasn't
at the
done it
Clip
yet.
Service Pod.
No, bro, but it's okay. I'm gonna be
God.
real. But
Well, everybody, the rest of the league better hide their faces because it's coming. It's
oh,
coming.
he's
Wear a
coming.
mask. Wear a mask out there, guys,
Oh, he's gonna come.
because Kawhi
Uh,
is coming.
no,
Oh, yes, sir.
no, but for real, this isn't. That's what he does. He's supposed to be that scorer. He's supposed to be that missing piece. He's supposed to be that guy that unloads the points. And I haven't seen that from him yet.
What's
Um,
up with you at unloading, bro?
because I'm
Rola's
looking for
got
a
unloading on the
load, bro.
mind, huh?
Looking for a
Yeah,
load.
Rola's looking for a load.
But no, on some real shit. He's just, I don't know. It's just it's just frustrating to me. I don't want to see him scoring. I mean, 2 years ago we were comparing it. Was 2 or 3 years ago we were comparing him to LeBron James, and now it's like you're insane if you would compare Kawhi to Bron. Bron drops 30 points, 10 assists, and 9 boards every other game, and Kawhi
Yeah,
has,
but
like what, 2 games ago. I mean, yes, we're winning, but we're 5-7. You know what I mean? We've lost 7 games. And in those 7 games, he didn't find a reason to say, you know what, I'm just gonna go off. And you know, like you said, winning cures all, but I don't think that's one point that is curable. And I texted you the other day. Um, I don't know if Kawhi is. He seems slower. I don't know if he's injured or he's just like trying to load manage in game, or he is just not the same person. But he doesn't seem as explosive as he once was. And he does have bad knees, and he might still be injured, and he might still be recovering. So I don't know. Maybe it's something that we're during this season or during the All Star break, he'll come out explosive again. But most of the time throughout a season, players don't get more healthy. They get more deteriorated because they're playing so many games, and they're going through so much. So to me, it's just like, to start off the season and see him like this, it's pretty worrying, because I think at the end of the day, if we play those big good teams in the playoffs, he's gonna have to be that guy. And if he's not, then we're not gonna win, and that's the ultimate
I,
goal, right?
I do think that's a fair assessment. I think that having, I give you a lot of shit, but I think that having, um, you know, with his injury history, that's always going to be something that's in the back of our minds, right? Oh, is Kawhi still coming back? Is he ramping up from an injury or something like that? When he and he has looked a little bit slower, or just not as explosive this season. I'm willing to give it a little bit more time, particularly because I think the biggest thing is, as far as we know, everybody's healthy right now, and so if everybody's going to take a little bit of time to figure out their role and stuff, I'm okay with it as long as everybody's healthy. If Kawhi is still coming back slow from an injury, I think that's something that we want to monitor. But that's something that we'll also never know. The Clippers are so
Yeah.
tight-lipped with where everybody is at, injury wise. But I think my biggest thing to piggyback off of that is, for me, I would not mind having Paul George step into the role as the de facto number one until the playoffs come around, or even into the playoffs. And I think that's kind of what I've seen so far. Is
Whoa,
Paul George
dude.
has had a better season. Paul George has had a better season than Kawhi. I would say he had a little bit of a slump. Paul George does come with a couple of turnovers a game. Some ill-advised shots. People love to clown Paul George, but at the end of the day, and you've touched on it before too. It's when the game's on the line. There's probably nobody on our team that I would trust more taking the shot than Paul George. I think that if Kawhi can just remain, you know, uh, I'm not going to say average, but if he can just do his job, average between 20 and 22 points a game, 25 points a game, something like that. Um, and Paul George can go out there and cook, and Harden does his thing, Russ does his thing
Mhm.
off the bench. I'm kind of okay with that, and because I have enough confidence in Kawhi, particularly as a playoff performer, where I know that he's gonna come. He's gonna come in some way. He's gonna unload, as Rolla would say.
But I
So,
don't I don't think so. I guess I don't think that Kawhi is playing bad. I think this he's giving us what we need, and this is what we expect. So he gives us the same thing every night. We know what we're gonna get from him, right? It's just I want to see at least one game or some game or at some point where he goes off. Um,
oh, I think we might have
I
lost.
just
Rolla's having some technical difficulties, I think.
sorry, I'm
On my end, Rolla's
I'm lagging a little bit.
the
I think.
video on Rolla's is about a minute
Oh.
behind, and now I just don't hear him. Rolla, are you here? You here? Rolla is not here. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna try and figure out these technical difficulties, and we will be right back, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys, but we're back. And we're ready to go. Rolla should be here.
Oh
Um,
shit!
we hope that he doesn't cut out again. But we're praying for the best. So I don't know where we left off, but basically, to sum up what we were talking about, um, I think that to Rolla's point, I think that I'm not particularly worried about Kawhi. I think that that he's kind of inevitable with like his level of play ramping up and him stepping up. But I think for the time being, I'm perfectly fine with Paul George. Being at least on offense being the number one option.
Hmm.
We have enough cooks in the kitchen to where I think that Kawhi can take a little bit of a back seat for now. Obviously, we need him and Paul George. I've said it before, but we need him and Paul George to continue to do what they need to do in whatever way. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the box score. Do whatever they need to do in whatever way to allow us to win. They need to be the leaders. And in those two games, those last two games against the Spurs and the Rockets, I think that we've gotten that. So, yeah, I think the last that we talked or where we left off was we were about to recap the Spurs game. Um,
Right.
liked what I saw. We liked what we saw from Daniel Theis. He provided a big spark off the bench. Kawhi and oh my god, I'm having some technical difficulties.
I can still
No,
hear you.
yeah. So okay, perfect. Yeah, Daniel Theis stepped up in a big way. I don't have the box score in front of me. Let me pull this up right now.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. I think we covered this. I mean, how I was talking about. It's just refreshing to see a big man that actually kind of wants it. You know.
Yeah.
But
And then okay, so no, here's what now we're getting it now, guys. Kawhi had 21. PG
yeah,
had 28. Looked really good out there. Really balanced effort from PG. 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal. Did have 2 turnovers, but the 28 points is certainly helpful. Kawhi with 21. I personally think that that's fine. I'll live with the 21 points. Harden chipped in with 13, but we kind of led most of the way. We had a pretty firm grip on the game, and I think that we didn't really need more than 21 out of Kawhi. Norm Powell off the bench has in the last couple of games has been really 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 good. I think that he's probably our best catch and shoot guy. Particularly in the last couple of games, and it showed. That he was only 2 for 6 from three, but he's been scoring at a pretty high level. 19 points off the bench. Russ with 10. And that's another thing that I wanted to touch on that we didn't touch on yet, which we should have, is, according to reports, Russ came up to the coaching staff and volunteered to come off the bench. Having Russ and Harden together in the starting lineup was obviously not working. Not an indictment on Russ. To me, not an indictment on Harden. It's just the fit wasn't there. They were, they're both ball dominant guards.
yeah.
Um,
That's kind of. I think we had talked about this a little bit, kind of off podcast, but I guess to kind of go off on that is, why wasn't that addressed earlier by Ty Lue? I guess my question is, what is Ty Lue doing for Russ to ask to come off the bench? Ty Lue should be making those decisions beforehand. He should have made those decisions when we were on our 6 game losing streak. It's just
yeah,
it's just a little concerning to me. It almost
I
feels like Ty Lue is kind of giving up on the team. Almost. That's just how I feel.
I wouldn't go
Um,
there. I wouldn't go there.
but I guess like then
I think Ty Lue's.
why would he wait so long, or what? Like, I guess why would Russell Westbrook feel the need to ask for this?
I think that I mean if it is what we're hearing, because I'm honestly a little bit skeptical that it was just Russell Westbrook waltzing up to the coaching staff saying, "Hey, I want to come off the bench." I think it was a mutual thing, and for optics or for whatever reason, they wanted to put out that it was conducted that way, that it was Russell Westbrook coming up to the team. And again, I'm not saying this to shit on Russ,
Hmm.
but every player in the league that does what Russ does is going to have a little bit of an ego. They want to start. He took a pay cut to be a starting point guard on the Clippers, so I get if there was any gripe or any pushback from Russ, initially to come off the bench, I completely get it. I think how it happened isn't super important for me as long as it did happen. And that's another reason why I'm not really questioning Ty's decision. I think that it's hard. Ty Lue is probably has the hardest job out of any coach in the league right now, managing a team that, as far as we hear from all the haters out there, shouldn't work on paper. Trying to make that work and trying to produce a cohesive, brand of basketball, I think is going to be really hard. And, I think throughout the first couple games, you kind of have to manage everybody's ego, like give everybody a chance to prove it, see if it works. And then when it comes time to make the changes, you can say, okay, I gave you guys a shot to do it, gave you guys a chance. These are the numbers, the proof's in the pudding. We lost 6 straight. So we're going to have to do something different. I don't really put a lot of blame on Ty Lue for waiting a little bit. It sucked to see, and it clearly wasn't working, but you got to handle things with care, especially if you want to manage a locker room where everybody's bought in. So he did it. We look better. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I just think that he could have done it a lot sooner. And I just think that it was almost an obvious fix that I felt like he chose not to do, or maybe the upper management told him he has to play all 4 of them. He has to start all 4 of them. But I think any coach who cares about winning would not have been playing James Harden and Russ at the same time. I feel like it's very obvious. I feel like everyone and their mothers could see that. And I think that was a big reason why we were losing. And I think that's a big reason why now we're winning, because we are playing James Harden at the end of games without Russell Westbrook. I think James Harden and Russell Westbrook just clash, and that's just their styles. And that doesn't mean that Russell Westbrook is worse than James Harden or vice versa. I just think that James Harden's game alongside Paul George and Kawhi is better for the team at the end of games. That's just it. And I think
fair.
at the end of the day,
that's fair.
That's what's going to get us there.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we differ is just that, I think that now that it's done, I can live with what happened in the past, because there's no better way to build than to make the change, whether it happens later or happens earlier. We are where we are now, and we have 2 wins because of it. And, if you look at the way that we conducted business against the Spurs, the proof is there that the starting lineup, is providing, this new starting lineup is providing something good for us. And I liked what Russ was able to do off the bench. He was taking a couple ill-advised shots early on in the game, but he got to the paint. He started getting to the paint, and, he had 6 assists, 3 steals. That's one thing that I actually kind of wanted to touch on. So far in the season, we're up there in teams that lead the league in steals, and that's one thing that I've really loved. And I think that's one thing that Russ has done a good job is jumping the passing lanes. PG has looked really good in jumping the passing lanes. We're getting a lot of steals, and if we continue to try and run a cohesive fast break, I think that's how we're going to generate points off the steal. And that was one thing that I liked a lot in this game. We had a team a high of 15 steals to the Spurs 4. And another thing that I loved about this game is 7 turnovers for the game. We did a good job of taking care of the ball. 7 turnovers and 30 assists is a great way to put yourself in a position to win. And kind of like we did last time when we played the Spurs, we took Wemby out of it pretty quickly. And I think that really solidified the win. And Roll is gone again. All right, guys, we're going to try again. All right, guys. Well, it looks like we lost Rolla for the rest of the show because somebody's Wi-Fi is not working too well. So here at the Clip Surface podcast, we like to improvise. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the helm and I'm going to try and get through this in one piece. So I think where we left off was we were talking a little bit about the Spurs and Clippers matchup. But bottom line, I think that this game was about as good as it could have gone. Um, I think that we put a team away, that we can definitely beat, and I think that's kind of what we did. Where we left off was I think I was talking about how we took Wemby out of the game quickly. Wembenyama is a freak, and everything runs through him, at least so far. And we did a good job of staying physical, and he only finished the game with 9 points. So I think that was a great way to start, and finish the game was keep him out of the game. Keldon Johnson did have 22. They got some help from the bench players like Jetty Osman, but for the most part, the Clippers did have control of this one. And so far, it looks like moving Russ to the bench and having our starters in place is working with what we have. And I think a big part of that too, aside from Russ, um, volunteering to come off the bench and being able to lead that bench unit is Terrence Mann. And he did finish the game with 0 points. His scoring has been obviously at an all time low. I think that he's passing up on some shots that he should be taking. But just the activity that Terrence provides. 6 rebounds. Only 2 assists, but 4 steals. A +7 on the box score, or on the plus minus. Terrence is somebody that I think should have been starting from the jump. Obviously, he was injured, and he was promised a starting spot, but the injury kind of took that away from him. Terrence has been giving this team everything whenever he's called upon, and I think that he's long overdue for this opportunity to start. I think the offense will come. He's shown that he's a pretty, at the very least, a decent catch and shoot threat. He's got an okay turnaround jumper, and he's really good at getting to the hoop. He's one of the most athletic guys that we have on the team. And he's putting up, the classic Pat Bev box score. He doesn't have to go out and score a bunch of points to be impactful. And he's getting his hands on everything. He's been one of our best. He continues to be one of our best point of attack defenders. And I think that has been a big part of why this starting lineup has worked too. Aside from Russ going to the bench and doing well off the bench, is Terrence Mann being inserted into the starting lineup and just playing off of ball handlers like James Harden. Terrence is a great cutter, and guys like Harden are going to be able to find him, and he's an athletic finisher. So I can't say enough about Terrence. Scoring aside, I think that he's given us that boost that we've needed, and it's showed in the 2 wins. So I can say that I'm really happy about that. But I think that we've pretty much said everything that we need to say about the Spurs game. Handled business. You know, uh, Continued the winning streak, and now it's on to the Spurs again tomorrow. I think really what we need to look for is just making sure that we do what we've been doing against them so far in this season, and cutting the head off the snake, getting Wemby out of it, playing physical. Wemby's still got some muscle he's got to put on to be able to be a people mover down low. Obviously, he's kind of can score from wherever he wants to, including the 3 point line. But just playing physical. He's still a rookie. He's young. A lot of players like that don't do well with physical play, and we just need to take him out of the game. They have the talent to be able to punish us elsewhere, but he's kind of been the cash cow for them, and obviously they want to give him as much of the responsibility of being the lead option as they can. So if we can just get him out of the game early, continue to play physical. I love what I saw from Theis. Obviously, if Theis can continue to play bigger than he is, and Zoo can continue his what has been drastically improved play in the last couple games, that will go a long way. I know Rola's not here to comment on it, but a big game from Kawhi would be great. Paul George has been good, obviously, the last couple games. But I would love to see maybe Kawhi, um, do his thing just for his own sake to get him in a rhythm. Um, can't say enough about what I've seen from Harden the last couple games. not just scoring, but finding guys, finding open guys, getting that ball moving. I think that this game should be a win, and we should be able to stretch this winning streak to 3 before we go out and play. Who are we playing next? Let me take a look. Sorry, guys. Let's see. We're playing we're playing the Pelicans next. Um, the Pelicans are a tough one because they always seem to give us some trouble. Um, Granted, they haven't been phenomenal this season, but they've been good. Um, so I think that the biggest thing for the Pelicans is being able to hang with the young guys. They play with a lot of energy. They play with a lot of hustle, and and to be able to combat that with shot making and grabbing rebounds and staying on the glass. They will be playing without CJ McCollum, who unfortunately, as we heard, he's out with some issues with his lung, a collapsed lung or something. So obviously, we hope he gets better, but we won't be seeing him in this matchup. So I think making sure that guys like Ingram and obviously Zion don't get involved on the offensive end are going to be big. And a way that the Pelicans always seem to beat us is on the glass. So just making sure that we keep those guys off the glass is going to go a long way. But yeah, taking a look at their team stats, they're kind of middle of the pack in just about everything. 15th in points per game, 13th in rebounds per game, 15th in assists per game, 18th in defense. So I think that while they're kind of still trying to figure out their stride, they're 7-7. So while they do have a better record than we do, I think that this is a game that we can win as well. Keeping them off the glass is a big thing though for me. I think Valanciunas has had career games against us, both offensively and defensively. So um, keeping the Pelicans off the glass and making sure that Ingram doesn't get going, particularly from that mid-range spot where he loves to score, um, and trying your best to keep the brick shit house that is Zion Williamson off the glass as well. It will go a long way. He's hard to contain, but I think that a lot of what's going on with Zion too this season has been, mentally and with his conditioning. So, he doesn't seem to be in full force just yet. Clippers need to take advantage of that and see if we can try and stretch it to 4, which I think again is certainly possible. The game that I think that we should be looking forward to the most in terms of the biggest challenge is going to be Saturday's game against Dallas at home. We know what Luka can do to us. We know what he's done to us in the past. And him and Kyrie seem to be firing on all cylinders. They're doing really well. They're 9-5. So I think trying your best to either let one of Kyrie or Luka go off a little bit while containing the other. That's always going to be my name of the game playing against the Mavericks. I think that once those two get going at the same time is when we really have the biggest problems. So I think, and we've done it before in the past, the Clippers have, where you kind of let Luka cook and keep him from getting other guys on his team involved. I think that's kind of what we need to try and stick to if we can. Or conversely, let Kyrie cook and see if you can try and contain Luka. So I think the biggest thing coming into this game is making sure that both of them don't have a good game. It's easier said than done. They're second in the league in points per game. Their defense, their rebounding, leaves a little bit to be desired. 22nd in rebounds per game, 24th in defense. So I think that containing the scoring output from them is a way that we can try and get this win. I know it's easier said than done. We got torched last game. That was a tough game to watch, but the Clippers are hitting a bit of a stride, and we do have some front court help with Daniel Theis. So, making sure you at least respect, um, you know, keep it respectable and honor, the fact that Luka and Kyrie can get it going. Um, don't leave either one too wide open. But just play honest defense and hope that you can kind of contain one of them. I think that's got to be the way that we attack this. Um, but yeah, I think overall, I think the Clippers can stretch out this winning streak. Dallas is going to be the toughest test. I think New Orleans can give us problems too, but they're not the team that they were last year or the year before yet. So I think that we can keep this going. I love what I've seen from the team. You know, obviously we still have a long ways to go. I'm not out here with rose-colored glasses just yet. At least not completely. Uh, just keep the momentum, play the right way, and play the same unselfish basketball that we played against the Spurs, particularly. You know, 7 turnovers only, and 30 assists is a great way to hang with any team in the league. And if our defense can be admirable, and our offense can be anything better than the horrible offense it was during our 5 game or 6 game losing streak, I really think the Clippers can go on a run here, and it would go a long way in instilling confidence in our guys. Winning cures everything. So I think that let's hope that the Clippers can rattle off some wins here. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am so sorry that it was a struggle with the technical difficulties. Hopefully, we'll get that shit hashed out come next week's pod, and hopefully, we will go undefeated 3 in a row. We'd love to see a 6 game winning streak from the Clippers, particularly with the doldrums that we've seen so far early in the season. But you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer. I think we're on Google Podcasts now. You can also find us on Twitter at ClipServicePod. Um, our other host that unfortunately was going through some technical difficulties. His name is Rolla. My name is Nick, and we have been the Clip Service Pod. Until next week, go Clips.